Yes, so I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. There was an MSNBC segment, I think it went yesterday, talking about climate change and how we're not going to be able to find solutions. And I think it's important to have this discussion. Um, there was a guy on Radio EcoShock years ago that talked about the deep green resistance. He talked about how I think deep green was having. Okay, one of them is about saying if we just get some Democrats in office and we just pass a few laws, that will be the solution. And another one understands it's about the lifestyle we lead, materialism, consumerism, excuse me. And deep green is recognized, and it's so much deeper than all of that. That's where I am. To me, when it comes to climate change, you are literally living in an era that is too late. I mean, it's almost like a religious thing. Climate denialism is like a religious thing now, in a lot of ways. It really is. That you're not a conservative if you don't deny climate change existing. I'm gonna do another video this weekend, more in depth, talking about facts to you guys. We're having wildfires in Europe, heat wave in Europe right now. They just beat a heat record of like 130 or 100 and something, I think, 100 Fahrenheit. They're talking about the runway at one of the British airfields is all messed up. They got to repave it now. Climate change is something that is already a done deal. And it's something that for us to do anything about would require long-term, in-depth investment, which isn't going to happen. The conservatives are unwilling to even talk about it. And what you see now, I've talked about before, what you see now, when Marjorie Taylor Greene joking about climate change is good for people, that people can be warmer in the winter and more crops will grow. And I'm like, first of all, these areas, if it gets as hot as they're talking about, they're going to wilt. Like these crops grow a certain kind of way. You're talking about a lot of crops and farmland that will no longer be arable. Second of all, warmer weather in the winter, I think that means more ice and stuff. I think that means it's going to be more dangerous hurricanes, more powerful. I mean, it's just, I get it. Right-wing politics is about talking to people who are already stupid, and you're just talking stupid to stupid people who don't look into the. I get it. I totally get it. They're just uttering half a thought, and people eat it up. I get it, but it shows you that we're turning a page. They're even talking about it. There was a time because we weren't even talking about it when you had Louis Gohmert talk about moving the Earth on its axis to avert climate change. You know how reckless it is for a senator to go out and say he speaks for the entire world. They're gonna move. I mean, it's stupid, but it shows you the amount of hubris and ignorance and arrogance that abides in these people's skulls, that they're just totally detached from reality. We're not going to have the type of long-term investments. See, when I talked about Trump playing it from the both sides, he played from the left. He talked about the war in Iraq. He talked about stuff Bush did was messed up, talking about 9/11. He talked about all that. But that was stuff that didn't cost anything. Republicans, they'll talk left. It doesn't cost them anything. I can say a lot of things don't cost. I can take some old leftovers and throw them to dogs outside if that's what I got to do. It doesn't mean that I'm going to promise to pay somebody's bills. Or you understand? You're dealing with people who are not interested in even having the discussion of climate change as we're watching it get worse. And that, I mean, we're watching wildfires in Europe. I'll say this. I think, honestly, that a lot of the climate projections are probably better than we thought. that I think the world that's coming will be so much worse than what we supposedly predicted. Climate change will increase the chance of having pandemics because of the fact. I mean, I'm not going into it here. It's just sometimes looking at these things, I think about history. People that lived in World War II, people that lived during the Holodomor and all that with Stalin. You're looking at an incredible disaster, and nothing can be done about it. And in the future, people will look back at it and say, "How could this have happened? How could so much horror and destruction have been wrought?" I rest my case. That's what I think about a lot of climate change stuff. We're just putting out stuff for the next generation. People aren't listening, and people don't get it. Conservative politics and nationalism is based on a balkanized model, which is to say that I only care about what's going on in my environment. So Americans can see this wildfires in Europe and not care. People in Florida can see wildfires in California and don't care. When I saw the heat wave in Washington, I knew it's what, because those areas that's not normal for that area, nor for that time of year. Bomber effect storms in the Midwest. Those type of storms happen near the coast. So you know, as long as you have this balkanized model of thought and of political theory of I only care what's going on in my environment, in my backyard, then sadly the world can go to hell, and a lot of folks won't even care when it does. That's the most terrifying thing about climate change is as it gets worse, people are in these echo chambers. They don't care. I always thought that as things got worse, that the evidence would be, I mean, it'd be too late. It's too late now. But the evidence would be too great. And I always thought that would hurt the Republican Party because they would be exposed as being a mouthpiece for the rich. And what has happened is the exact opposite. You know, they're doubled down. It's like this doomsday type ideology on the right now. They're willing to do anything to hurt the left. It's sad. It's sad to see people going through overseas. It's sad because these are the indicators of a climate gone wild, gone mad, whatever you want to say, and nobody sees it. And what's worse, there's an ideology that actually thinks that this will be good. There's a guy on Quora, ending with this, and he was talking about, like, why don't the rich do something about it? And my dad thinks they're going to do things about it. They're not going to think about it. Even if Bill Gates gets his thing to suck the particles out of the atmosphere, that's still ain't going to affect climate change. That's pollution. All this stuff, this is just stuff to make up the good guys. When it comes to the rich looking at climate change, this is another example of disaster capitalism. That's all it is. They're looking at Greenland and all those places being inhabitable by people. They're going to make them resorts. They're going to use this chaotic environment as one to make a profit. And that's important. I remember when Pompeo came out there, they were talking, and Trump wanted to buy Greenland. People made jokes about it. It's not funny. And it wasn't just because these white people that live in Greenland. They see this moment as something to take advantage of and to profit off of, not an emergency. That's why, people that think that living near the rich will save them, no, it will not. I read somewhere where a guy lived down there in Louisiana. He spent like $300,000 remodeling his house. He raised his driveway, redid his roof. Most folks ain't got that kind of money laying around. They don't. That's real talk. So you're looking at that's a capitalism. You're looking at a reality that is there are no easy solutions, because the easy solutions won't even be done. One thing COVID taught me is that the right is willing to die for their idea of America. I'm not. I make mistakes like anybody else, and if I make a mistake, I'm going to correct myself. The right is willing to die for their idea of America. They're willing to kill everybody for their idea of America, and that ideology, that jingoistic, suicide pact with fascism, this fatalistic mindset, it's dangerous, and it's one that can't be reasoned with. That's why people talk about the far left, the far right. I understand something. The far right is based upon replacement theory. The far right is based upon homophobia and bigotry. The far left understands the times we live in, that all this union stuff is great until they get the robots. Climate change, when we do something about climate change, it's going to become inhabitable for a whole lot of people out here who work for a living with their hands, work outside. We don't have time to waste. And the science is clear. The facts are in our face. We're watching it every day. And I just don't think that there is an easy solution to the predicament we face. Thank you for listening.